So recently I've been playing Arkham Origins and I really wanted to make a video on Arkham Origins. I don't know, this game is an interesting game in the Arkham series, taking place 8 years before the first game in the franchise. I thought it'd be a good time to play this one, since it doesn't really get recognized as much as all the other Arkham games. In fact, this one is kind of just seen as the black sheep of the trilogy because it's, well, a prequel made by a different company. So, without further ado, I'll jump into this. Visually, for a game in 2013, it actually looks pretty good, and I don't really have any big problems with its graphics. Like, for an Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era game, it looks pretty good, even with the art style. Um, Although you could say it's a little outdated, I don't really think that matters. The art direction still kind of works in this one for what it has to offer tonally, especially with Gotham being covered in snow. It actually looks pretty good. And looking at some of the pre-rendered cutscenes too, it it looks good. Like it genuinely looks pretty good for what it has to offer, and I don't really have any major gripes with its visuals. So the gameplay is pretty much the same as all the other Arkham games. It has a very rhythmic, flowy combat system with the attacks and the counters, so it's pretty much the same as all the others. Some enemies have bats, which you can block. Some enemies have guns, which you can not block, but you can disrupt them before fighting them using your grapple hook, or better yet, just smoke pelleting and then fighting them that way. There's a lot of ways to fight these people, especially considering the fact that there is a huge enemy variety even in this entry. The armored enemies will have to be stunned though, especially some of the bigger ones, which are kind of the same as armored enemies, where they take up a lot of hits and need to be taken down via a combo. So that describes the combat side of things. Then with your grapple hook, you could literally just grapple onto a surface where the thing would tell you where you can grapple by having it positioned or aimed. Um, and you can speed grapple by hitting the button to grapple twice. On PC, the controls are a little bit weird. Um, if you're stuck in an animation, your best bet on PC is holding control, because sometimes you get stuck in something, you might not understand how to get out of it. But if you're in one of those situations, like I was on one of my playthroughs, then your best bet is just hitting control. That's probably the easiest. This is obviously for PC. Sorry if I didn't mention that before. But if you're using PC and you're into a thing like that on console, it shouldn't be so much of an issue. Um, Console probably just works fine. So, yeah. There's also batarangs and stuff. Batarangs can be used to make sure that enemies don't throw anything at you. There's a lot of gadgets. The crypto sequencer is used to hack wall panels. Um, Obviously, you have detective mode, which you can go into to make sure where enemies are. There's a lot of options for gameplay in this game, and it really nails what the Arkham games do best when it comes to its gameplay. They vary from starters being the regular goons that chase you and fight you, where you have to fight several of them, each with their own strategy. Then you have puzzles, which can be solved using gadgets and require your attention. And then the third slot is the boss fights, which are amazing. This game does a really good job of its levels. Each mission feels very different from the other. Enemies are unpredictable, but also they require some strategy, and that actually gets you to think about what you're doing in this game. So it really honestly nails some of the best aspects of level design in the Arkham franchise, in my opinion. But also, just I think it does. So that's what matters. On Christmas Eve, a series of murders occurs in Gotham City, and Batman is out here trying to find the culprit. At the start of the game, we find out that it might be Black Mask until we learn later on that it was actually Joker who committed these crimes. Batman and Joker chase each other throughout the entire campaign, while the police force chase Batman as their relationship in this game hasn't developed yet. Batman and Alfred actually have a really interesting relationship in this game. Like they just really nailed it in this game. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just something I like to add. So overall, the story, while simple, does a great job as an origin story. The side missions are nothing to write home about. They're just mediocre, in all honesty. It's kind of just the same as all the other games. So yeah, collectibles, fight this guy, go over here, stop this. It's basic. I hear the DLC though is pretty good. In conclusion, Arkham Origins is a pretty solid game. Although I wouldn't say it's the best in the series, for what it had to offer, it did a pretty good job. It had plenty of side content, plenty of main content, as it was, and for a spin off prequel made by a different studio, I think it did a even better job at that, borrowing some of the best elements that the series had to offer and making a pretty solid game out of it. For this, I'd probably give it around an 8 out of 10. Peace and goodbye.
It's over, Slade. What are you?